NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play.
What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bringing you latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. All right, so it's been about a week and a half since my last NetsBoy episode, in which I'm going to be honest, I was really negative and really pessimistic and pretty much talked about how I did not see this team even having a chance to make the playoffs and was destined for the play-in. And in that episode, I said, like, every time I feel good about this Nets team, they are a disaster, and I just get really angry and frustrated. So I said I was never going to be optimistic about this team again. Well, since that episode, the Nets currently have gone 4-1 the last 5 games. Really could have gone 5-0, and we'll touch upon that in a second, and have just looked like a completely different team. Now look, I'm not going to get ahead of myself with this good stretch of games. I'm not going to get ahead of myself after the great comeback win against the Celtics when they were down by 28 in Boston, remembered how to play basketball, and they came back to win the game, which was unbelievably impressive. You know, that was a great win. I'm not going to get ahead of myself on that. You know, they beat the Celtics. They beat the Rockets as they should have. They beat the Hornets as they should have. They really dominated the Hornets, to be honest. And then most recently, they beat the Timberwolves in a really tough, hard-fought overtime game. And look, I think the reality of this Nets team is they are somewhere in between what we've seen these last, 9 games with this Nets team. They're not as bad as the team that went 0-4 to start the season, getting blown out, looking like they have no idea how to play defense. But they're also not as good that they're going to go 4-1 and come back from 28 to beat the Celtics in Boston all the time. Like, they're not that good of a team. They're somewhere in between, which honestly I guess is what I really kind of expected from this team. Remember, I said that I saw them going about 500 after the trade deadline. After the Nets put this current team together, there was 24 games left, and I said 10 to 12 wins seemed to make sense to me with this Nets team. I don't know if that's still going to happen because the Nets still have some really tough games, but these last stretch of games made me feel a little bit better about it. Now, once again, I'm not going to go full optimistic because, like I said in my last episode, every time I think this team has figured it out, they are a disaster and implode. But I do think that we're seeing a little bit more of a consistency from this Nets team. Mikal Bridges is really figured it out, and I think he is definitely the de facto go-to guy on this team. Dinwiddie has his moments, and he had a good game against the Timberwolves, and a big reason why they were able to win. Claxton is starting to get a little bit more consistent. The Nets did bring in Nerlens Noel. Finally, another big body, but I don't know. Nerlens Noel doesn't look so good. Like, physically doesn't look so good. Like, I don't remember him being that skinny and that, like, small. Like, I knew he was always a skinny, lanky guy, but, like, he looks tiny. And, like, you compare him to even Claxton, who's a pretty skinny guy. He looks like I don't know how much he's really going to help. Like, Nerlens Noel is a very solid rim protector. He's a decent rebounder and a guy who can a lob threat, but he doesn't really help them with their girth, which we know has been the biggest problem with the Nets. So we'll see what happens with Noel more and more if he's going to be an answer. He didn't play in the Timberwolves game, but he played in the other games prior. Not the Celtics game. He wasn't on the team yet by then, but they played in the last 2 games before that, and he's looked okay, but I don't know. I don't know if he's really the answer. He only signed a 10-day contract. I'm sure the Nets will give him another 10 days. I don't know if the Nets are going to try to go somewhere else or give him a contract for the rest of the year, but I don't know. But but outside of that, I mean, like I said, Claxton looks like he's figuring it out again. He's trying to get reaccustomed to his new role. Mikal Bridges looks legit. He's been rocking 30-point games left and right. Dinwiddie looks solid, and even Joe Harris looks like he knows how to make some shots. So, like, the team seems like it's figuring it out and figuring their identity. It's really just been their defense as we expected. I mean, you look at their wins. The 4 wins they had, they held the Celtics to 105 points, which was really impressive considering they gave up, I believe, 64 in the first half. They held the Hornets to 86. And then they held the Rockets to 96. And then most recently, in an overtime game, they held the Timberwolves to 123. And I believe like 110 in regulation. Actually, like I think it was 110 in regulation. It should have been 107, but they let Naz Reid get like wide open for a 3 to tie the game. But we're not going to talk too much about that. So once again, the expectations of this team and how they're going to win seems to be defense. And we kind of expected that, as it should be. When you have this type of players like Bridges, like Finney-Smith, like Claxton on this team, like Royce O'Neal, who are defensive-minded, it should be the defense that leads the way. And it's great to see that we're kind of seeing the defensive continuity from this team. As long as they play defense the way they're playing, they will always be in games, and they should always have a chance to win. Doesn't mean that they will, but they would have a chance to win, which now takes me to my main point of this episode. And I know a lot of people want me to talk more about the great Celtics comeback. There's really not much to say other than it was like a flip script 180 type of performance, and it was very impressive, and everyone played well, and I was very happy to see that. That's all I have to say. Because, you know, stuff like that happens in the NBA, unfortunately, all the time. Granted, it is the biggest comeback win of the season of any team. 28 points is the most any team has come back for. And the irony that it's against the Celtics in Boston when the Nets could not beat the Celtics when they had KD and Kyrie. The first time they play them without them, they come back and win. That is kind of amusing. But I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on the Bucks game. A game in which Giannis was ruled out. Look, I get it, Jock Vaughn and the Nets. It's the first game of a back-to-back. And I guess your strategy worked because you did play hard and beat the Timberwolves the next game. But let me say this. Who the hell are you, this current Brooklyn Nets team, who the hell are you to rest 4/5 of your starters and play your other good starter, Mikal Bridges, just 12 minutes just to keep his consecutive game streak alive, and then never play him again after the first quarter? Who the hell are you, a 6 seed right now, only 2.5 games out of the 7 seed, the play-in, and not even making the playoffs? Who are you to rest those players on a game that without Giannis you had a chance to steal? Who do you think you are? That is inexcusable. You are not in the market of a guaranteed playoff spot anymore. You don't have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving anymore. You are not a lock for the playoffs like you were before when you rested almost the entire team rotation against the Pacers earlier in the year. That was a completely different story, right? When they rested everybody because they were at that time the 3 seed in the East. They had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on the team, and they had aspirations of actually making the playoffs and winning a championship. That made sense. You are battling right now to stay out of the play-in. You're only 2.5 games up. You literally look like a disaster all year and just started to figure it out, creating continuity and getting the new unit together. Where do you have the audacity to rest 4/5 of your starting lineup and only play Mikal Bridges 12 minutes? Freaking excusable. You are not a playoff guaranteed team. You have to win as many games as possible. Obviously, the thought process was first game of a back-to-back. Cam Johnson, let's rest him. He's coming off a knee injury. He can rest. I can get that. But Dinwiddie, Claxton, Finney-Smith, hell no. Play those guys. Bridges only 12 minutes? Are you kidding me? Seth Curry only 11 minutes? No, but we got, next man up. We want to let Cam Thomas and David Duke Jr. and Yuta Watanabe and Patty Mills. We want to see what they can do and play. Don't give me that crap. You got to make the playoffs. That's the goal. And it's not a guarantee you're going to be a top 6 seed and avoid the play-in. Hell, I still don't think the Nets will. I think the Heat are going to catch them. I think that's going to happen. You know, there's what is there, 16 games to go or something like that. The Nets are 2.5 games up. I just think, I think it's a slap in the face, disrespectful to basketball in general to do any of this type of load management. And don't get me started on that. Like, if a player is coming off an injury, I get it. Like someone like Cam Johnson, who, like I said, like that one, I got no problem with that. But the rest of this crap is complete BS. And it's a slap in the face to the league and the fans and everything like that. That's the first part. But the second part is you are not guaranteed the spot in the playoffs. How do you feel like you could get away with this? I almost wanted the Nets to lose to the Timberwolves because the whole reason was like we got a better chance of beating the Timberwolves than the Bucks. But not really, especially when Giannis was out. Like, that was a winnable. It took a Herculean effort by our good friend Brook Lopez to be one block away from a triple-double with blocks to beat this Nets team who played very. And look, I'll give the next man up credit to the team. Those Nets players played hard. David Duke Jr., Cam Thomas, Patty Mills, Day'Ron Sharpe, Utah. They all played really hard in that game. Drew Smith, I like this guy. I don't know if he's ever going to be a true rotational player, but I like him as a depth piece. Like, they played hard, and they were in the game, and they did have a chance. But at the end of the day, if you ask me, if the Nets actually played their starters, whether it was Dinwiddie, Claxton, and playing Mikal Bridges more than 12 minutes, I think the Nets are stealing that game. I really do. And to me, it's inexcusable to think that you are the 6th seed, barely holding on to the play-in, not being in the play-in, and you can pull that crap. It really got me heated. It really got me heated. Why do you rest players anyway, by the way? You rest them so they're 100% for the playoffs. That's the strategy. That's the reality of the load management. You don't do, the crappy teams don't do load management. The teams that aren't going to make the playoffs don't do load management because they got no shot at making the playoffs. They want to see their team play. The Nets are barely in the playoffs right now. How could they feel like this was the right decision? But it worked, I guess, because the Nets won the next game against the Timberwolves and won 4 of the last 5. So I guess Jock Vaughn and the Nets know what they're doing, but I don't like it. I think it was very, very risky. I think it was stupid. And, look, if you wanted to keep the minutes down for the starters, maybe play Mikal Bridges 28 minutes instead of 34. Dinwiddie around 25 minutes. Look, I can get behind that. At least they're out there playing and trying to compete. But to just not play 4/5 of the starting lineup and Mikal Bridges 12 minutes, it's just ridiculous. And I think they really could have won that game. They could have won that game and won 5 straight. And we're talking a whole different type of story right now. But no. Well, the Nets are the 6th seed. They're a lock to get for the playoffs, right? Please. If the Nets end up missing the play-in, missing the 6th seed by 1 game and being in the play-in, I'm going to go back to that decision. And I'm going to say this is the reason why. Because they really could have won that game against the Bucks without Giannis. And I hope I'm wrong, but I'm telling you, I got a bad feeling that the Heat are going to continue to climb. The Nets have the season series with the Heat. I bet they're going to end up with 1 game behind the Heat, in which if they won the 1 game and they had the same record, the Nets would have been the 6th and the Heat would be the 7th. But I have a bad feeling that's what's going to happen because the Nets do not have an easy stretch of games coming up. But now let's go take a look at that before we end these episodes. Next couple stretch of games, starting with the Denver Nuggets tomorrow or later this afternoon, depending on when you're seeing this episode. The best team in the Western Conference. Now, I know the Denver Nuggets are dealing with some issues. They haven't looked as sharp of late, but they're still the best team in the West and a top 3 team in all of basketball in Denver. Do we really think the Nets are going to win that one? Probably not. Then they got the Thunder in Oklahoma City. The Thunder are not a bad team. There may not be a great team, but they are right in the thick of things in the play-in. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's a legit superstar. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. I feel like people don't give him the credit he deserves. That is not a guaranteed win. Then they have the Sacramento Kings back in Brooklyn. The Kings are the 2 seed in the West right now and look like one of the best teams in basketball and have one of the most also underrated combos with Sabonis and Fox. So that could be a loss. Then they play the Nuggets again in Barclays Center. That's 4 possible losses. Then they have the Cavaliers back-to-back. Those are 6 possible losses before they have a big critical game against the Miami Heat. There's no reason to not expect this Nets team to maybe lose the next 6 games before they have a chance to maybe steal one against the Heat. And if they lose to that Heat team, that could be the turning point where the Heat jump the Nets. And then the Nets will be in the play-in, and it'll be a wrap because they didn't play 4/5 of their starters against the Milwaukee Bucks. Then they would have the Rockets and the Magic and the Hawks and the Jazz, all teams that the Nets are either just as good as, if not better than. So before that, they literally are going to be playing 6 games where the Nets are clearly going to be the true underdog. Maybe you can argue the Nets are at the same level as the Thunder, but it's a road game. And once again, don't sleep on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's clearly the best player on the court. You got to win as many games as you can to try to hold on to that 6 seed if you're the Nets. And that's why, the loss to the Bucks just gets me frustrated. And not because they lost, but because they pretty much forfeited the game and threw in the towel at the tip. Whatever. Let me know what you guys think about everything, about the Bucks' decision to rest most of the starters, the fact that this Nets team really has a rough stretch coming up and will be lucky to win. Let me be honest. The next 6 games, they're going to be lucky to win 2 games. I'm hoping they win at least 1, but you never know. If you agree with me that the Nets might just come down to 1 game against the Heat and lose, let me know what you think about the great Celtics win, if you thought that was impressive. It was, but, let me know all those things. And then until the next NetsBoy episode, which I'm going to be honest, I don't know exactly when it's going to be. I'll end with this little note. NetsBoy, unfortunately, is going to have can't believe it's the 5th, but his 5th knee surgery this Monday. Dealing with some knee pain. I've actually been dealing with it for a while. And, I've touched upon this before. I've had 4 knee surgeries in the past, 3 on one knee, 1 on the other one. Well, now the one that I had the one surgery on wants to try to catch up to the other one. It's been hurting me, so I'm going for the second one on the left knee. Go figure. They found some meniscus tears and some issues, so I am having some arthroscopic surgery, done on the left knee. Look, why do I tell you that? Because, I might be a little out of it the next couple weeks, and I might be taking a small hiatus as I recover from the knee surgery. It's not supposed to be anything serious, so I don't anticipate it. And that's, after all, I do sit the whole time while I do these NetsBoy episodes. So there is still a chance that you'll see my regular NetsBoy episode in another week or 2, because I may not be doing much anyway. I'm taking time off from work for a little bit to recover, so I might just do an episode because I have nothing else to do. So, point is, might be a couple weeks. It might be a couple days. You never know. Just keep your eyes open for the next NetsBoy episode. Just want to let you know that if I do take a hiatus, that is the reason why I'm recovering from knee surgery. So just throwing that out there. Just a little behind-the-scenes stuff. Let me know once again what you guys think about everything. And until then, this is NetsBoy, hoping that the decision to rest all the starters does not bite the Nets in the ass in the end, and signing off.